Hello students, I'm a political science teacher and here I'm with you with the first video of political science chapter 1. Students, before going to start the new chapter in class 10, I would like to give a brief recap that what we have understood in class 9 in democratic politics 1. So far we have read in class 9 that the meaning of democracy, the various major features that we have in democracy, then how democracy has become a popular model or the system of government throughout the world. Then after we have learned about the election system in the democratic countries as well as in the Indian context. Then after we have moved to know about the various institutions or the major organs of the government in democracies and their role. Then at last we have ended up by the democratic rights. So with this we already have a little bit idea about what democratic system is. So in class 10 also we will try to understand and we will expand our idea of democracy in this 1 year tour. So our first chapter in democratic politics 2 in class 10 NCERT is power sharing. So before going to start the chapter, I'd like to give you a detailed idea about what chapters we have to read in this year in political science. So students, you can see here there are 8 chapters in our book. These are, first one is power sharing, which comes under unit 1. Then after chapter 2 federalism. And in the second unit we have 2 chapters again. Chapter 3 democracy and diversity, then chapter 4 gender, religion and caste. After that we have popular struggles and movements, then political parties, accordingly outcomes of democracy and challenges to democracy. So all total we have 8 chapters in the book, but all these 8 chapters are not required to read for the board examination. However, the chapters which are not included for the final examination have to be read for the internal examination that is to be conducted by the school. So the chapters which will be evaluated in the board examination are first and second chapter, that is power sharing and federalism. Then after chapter 4 gender, religion and caste. Then political parties, that is chapter 6. Then chapter 7 outcomes of democracy. So these 5 chapters are to be read for the board examination, but also we have to read other 3 chapters for the internal examination. I hope this content is clear for you, what we have to read in the political science in class 10, right? So in this video series I have brought few teaching points with you that we are going to basically cover in this video. And the first one is meaning of power sharing, we will be dealing here. Then after Belgium story of power sharing, within which about Belgium will come to learn. Then after ethnic or social composition of Belgium. Then next to this we have Sri Lanka story of power sharing. Then about Sri Lanka we will learn here again. Then after ethnic or social composition of Sri Lanka. Okay, so let us first try to understand the meaning of power sharing. So power and sharing, here these 2 words we have, right? Sharing, everyone of we are familiar, and the power, this word also is quite familiar for us. So what is power sharing? When we are asked, then what we have to remember is these 2 points basically. Okay, the first point is saying sharing power means dividing the works or responsibilities, means distribution of works. So here in the context of this subject, power sharing implies the division of works among the organs of the government as well as various institutions and groups in democracy. So in this book, that is political science, here power sharing basically we understand as the division of works among the organs of the government as well as the various institutions that exist in the democratic setup, also the also among the various groups in the society or the democratic country, right? So by this I think you are clear with the meaning of power sharing, right? Okay, so let us proceed to the next topic of this video. So students, to know in depth about the meaning of power sharing, about the importance of power sharing or the need of power sharing, then various forms of power sharing, the chapter begins with two stories from different countries. So one is from Belgium and another is from Sri Lanka. So these two stories, and with the reference of these two stories we will come to learn about the needs and importance of power sharing in the rest of the part of the chapter, right? So we will learn first the story of Belgium. So before that we'll have to understand about the Belgium in brief. So Belgium is a small country in the West Europe. It is surrounded by four countries, namely France, Germany, Luxembourg and Netherlands. So these four countries are the neighboring countries of Belgium. We have to remember for the exam also. Then next, it has a population little over 1 crore. That means it's a very small country, about half of the total population of the state of Haryana in India. See, in our country we have different states, 28 states at present, and out of this one of the state is Haryana, right? So Haryana we all know is a very small in geographical size as well as in population size, right? But still it has about 2 crore population. But whereas in Belgium if we see, then we have only 1 crore population around. Okay, that means it's a half of the Haryana's population, right? So by this data what we can figure out is that the Belgium is a very small country in geographical size as well as in its population size, right? So from this maze of Belgium we can see here the blue color implies the Flemish region and the light yellow color implies the Wallonia region, and this green color symbolizes not exactly the region but here basically the German inhabitants are there. So later in the next slide we will come to understand in details. Clear? So in this topic, here we have the ethnic or social composition of Belgium. So before knowing the power sharing model of Belgium, so let us have a look on what is the ethnic or social composition of the country Belgium. So linguistically Belgium has basically 3 linguistic groups. Okay, so these linguistic groups are Dutch, French and German speaking accordingly, right? So of the country's total population, 59% lives in the Flemish region and speak the Dutch language. Students, I already have showed you that the Flemish region in Belgium, so this blue color you can see here is a Flemish region, and here basically the Dutch speaking people live, right? So this Dutch speaking people out of total population, what is the total percentage of the Dutch speaking people? 59%, right? And another 40% lives in Wallonia region and speak French language. So again I will show you this Wallonia region. This light yellow color region is a Wallonia region, right? So this one, this region is a Wallonia region. Okay, so then 59 plus 40 is what? 99%. So the remaining 1% of country's population speak what language? German language. Okay, so total how many percentage? 100%, right? So in this way the population of Belgium is being divided into three linguistic groups, right? So moreover this, we have the capital region. Again I would like to show you the map of Belgium. So here in the red color you can see this is the capital region. Okay, so this is the capital region, and in the capital region Brussels, the population composition is something different. Okay, so 80% of the total population speak here the French language, while the 20% population speak the Dutch. So what we can see from this information is that though the Dutch speaking people are majority in number in the entire country, but they are minority in the capital city Brussels. Okay, so this is what the population or the ethnic or social composition of Belgium. Is it clear? I hope it is clear to all of you, right? So proceeding to the next topic, we have the story of Sri Lanka. See, in the case of Sri Lanka again, if we have to know in brief about Sri Lanka, then you can go through these points that I have brought for you. A small island country at the southern part of India. As we all know, Sri Lanka is in southern part of Indian peninsula, right? So it has about 2 crore population. What we have found in the case of Belgium, it is around 1 crore population we found. But here in Sri Lanka's case, we found 2 crore population. That means it is quite bigger in size, right? So about the same as in Haryana. We compared previously also in the case of Belgium with Haryana, right? So this country has attained independence in the year 1948 from the colonial rule. Like India, the Sri Lanka also was being colonized by the colonial power till 1948, and it attained independence in this year. So the ethnic communities or the ethnic composition in Sri Lanka, we can have we can understand from these following points. So students, you can look here. Like other nations, Sri Lanka was not exceptional in its diversity. Yes, it is the social differences that exist everywhere in the world. Does not matter whether the country is a small or bigger in size, right? So Sri Lanka was not exceptional in this case. So if we see from the linguistic perspective, okay, so linguistically it had two major social groups, right? So they were namely Sinhalese and Tamils. So Sinhalese constituted 74% of the total population, whereas the Tamils were of 18% of the total population, right? So among the Tamils again, there were two subgroups. They were Tamil natives, also called Sri Lankan Tamils, and the Indian Tamils, whose forefathers migrated from India. So this Tamil population of Sri Lanka was subdivided into two categories: Indian Tamils and the native Tamils, right? So if we see again from the religious perspective, okay, so religiously most of the Sinhala speaking people were Buddhist. I mean, they were the followers of the Buddhism, right? Then the most of the Tamils were the Hindus or Muslims. Okay, basically Hindus and Muslims also were there in the Tamils, right? So there were again about 7% Christians who belong to both Sinhala and Tamil. So unlike Belgium, we have found here in Sri Lanka it's more complicated, right? In the ethnic composition or the social composition, right? So what we have seen here is that 74% of the Sinhalese and the 18% of Tamils, right? And this 18% again was divided into two, this Sri Lankan Tamils and the Indian Tamils, right? So Sri Lankan Tamils were 13%. I have not mentioned here. They were 13% and basically lived in the north and eastern part of the Sri Lanka, right? And the remaining Tamils were, remaining 5% were the Indian Tamils, whose forefathers were basically migrated from India during the colonial period for the purpose of the plantation works. Okay, So again, if we see the religious perspective, in the religious perspective, then we can see here most of the Sinhala speaking people were, I mean the Sinhalese were Buddhist. Okay, so accordingly what we can guess here is that the Buddhism was the majority religion, okay, whereas the Hindus and Hinduism or the Islam was the minority religious group of people in Sri Lanka, right? And Christians also were the minority group of people, right? So this is what the Sri Lanka's ethnic composition. So for more clarification, I would like to show you the map again of Sri Lanka. So I have said you that uh, the Sri Lankan Tamils basically inhabited in the north and eastern part. So I will show you what is north and what is east. So this portion is northern portion and this is the eastern portion, right? So and this portion south, almost in the southern part, right? So in this part, this part was inhabited by the Indian Tamils, right? So north and west was inhabited by, sorry, north and east was inhabited by the Sri Lankan Tamils or the native Tamils, and the southern part in small portion the Indian Tamils were there, right? So in this way we have the uh, population composition or the ethnic composition in Sri Lanka. Is it clear to you, all of you? Okay. Then coming to the next slide, we have here some practice questions, okay, on the basis of the two stories and the meaning of power sharing. I have prepared few questions for you, okay. So these questions are the practice questions and I hope you all will write down in the notebooks, okay, and do the answer immediately, right? In the next class I will discuss with you the rest of the things of the chapter. Thanks for watching.